Well, welcome back to the Crypto Power Hour. Round three, baby. Here we go. Powered by Solum Global with your host, the founder of Solum Global, Kirk St. John's, crypto's most interesting man. And of course, Antonio Moss, the crypto queen, and the crypto bros, myself, Lance Miliaccio, and George Ballantine. This is your ultimate deep dive into everything crypto, blockchain, and decentralized finance. Whether you're a seasoned investor or just stepping into the world of digital assets for the first time, we bring you expert insights, top interviews, exciting new projects, breaking news, and game-changing innovations shaping the future of digital assets. We don't do any hype on this show, no fluff, just real facts, real talk, real strategies, and real opportunities in the world of crypto. Because on this show, of course, you know, in crypto, we trust. Well, we're back in the saddle, folks. Hopefully you caught our first two episodes. And of course, our team is back in the house from the Crypto Summit. We got a great opportunity to, attend the reception, and of course, the post event, the closed White House event. It was pretty tough to make any moves there. So our guys decided it was a golden opportunity. They hit the ground running. And for those of you who don't know, the Crypto Summit was a big event held at the White House on March 7th. Brought together a bunch of prominent figures. In fact, I think the top of the food chain, the whales from all over the cryptocurrency industry. And they, of course, were discussing the future of digital assets, legislation. President Trump made it very clear what his position is going to be, at least during his term. So I think we have a great 3-year run. Of course, that, the re-election will start and that'll stop it. But at this point, it's a golden opportunity to change your life. George Ballantine, I'm going to start with you, man. How are you doing, bro?
I'm good, Lance. I'm good. Thank you for starting with me. It's about time I get some recognition around here.
Yeah,
Listen.
I knew that would appeal to your ego, so that's why I started with you. I knew
What
that.
ego? I don't have an ego. There's not enough room in this on this show with the two other big
Yeah, you
egos
might
we
not
got
be,
over
with
there.
that group, with this group here, you might not be able to get through the door. We might have to widen. Can we have the contractor widen the doorways for everybody?
Why do you think I got the egos on the right side over there?
Exactly.
And here's the
well, Antonia Moss, what's shaking bacon? How are you, man?
I'm good. I had a great weekend. It was cool.
Yeah, you guys did have a good time. It sounded like you had a good time. You guys, I also got a little intel that you guys stayed out really late over there.
Well, I think we kind of messed up because we stayed out pretty late the first night to settle in and just get to know the place. It was a good weekend. Necessary to kind of flesh it out to the full, I think. But we definitely had a good time.
Yeah, you guys were running and gunning. Of course, you were running right up to the gate. I understand. With everything going on, it's never easy when you get an audible on travel. I used to travel quite a bit years ago. I used to travel about 130,000 miles domestically back then, and it was always a run to the gate at different parts of the country. So, Kirk St. John's, man, what's going on? How are you?
Well, like Antonio said, we're back home. We're recovering. We're having a good time now. We're reflecting. It was a great weekend, and I just love what's going on. The energy was outrageous in Washington. I mean, even in the lobby of the hotel, we went to a restaurant, walking down the street, at the Washington Monument. It was awesome. So great stuff.
Good to hear.
It was all the high-level players, the mid-level players, and I think we're going to see more of that. I understand there's some talks in DC about a big crypto-style event, just like what they do in Dubai. Donald Trump's been talking about it with his team. It isn't really public knowledge yet, but I got it from somebody else that they've got this plan for a big conference. They haven't talked about locations yet, but I'm suspecting it might very well be in Florida. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see when that's announced.
Right.
So let's dig into the Crypto Summit. Let's talk, because you guys were there. Lots of people wanted to be there. A lot of people would have traded places with you. Give me. Let's start with a little bit of the activity. You guys ran into a lot of people. Kirk, let's start with you.
Sure.
What were some of the most notable moments, and maybe give us a little of the insider stuff that you heard that maybe was running behind the scenes? Because some people were saying they were disappointed about what happened there. I'm not disappointed at all from what I've seen. What was discussed at that event?
Yeah, I mean, disappointed is definitely not a word I would use, right? I think appointed would be more appropriate. There's definitely a vibe moving through Washington. Trump has set a pace, an agenda. In fact, right before the summit, one of our colleagues on the show actually sent me David Sacks's, personal cell phone number and said, "Hey, here's a connection." The administration is open. You talked about the big guys and the little guys. I would have to say there was an aura that wasn't so much big guys and little guys, but us guys. And I think that's a great tone to set, because some of the whales today that are the big guys, and we'll talk about some of them that we met, at one point they were the little guys, right? But this is an opportunity to, you can take a new flag, stake it in the ground somewhere, and really make something happen. So whether it was at the hotel or on the street or at the after party, there was just such a great vibe. And it's like, Viva sorry, I can't say that shit.
Wait, hang on. I think what was great that you were saying, Kirk, is that it seemed to be a very democratic thing, right? It was like titans of industry, intellectuals, people from all different areas of life, really, all coming together. And it did seem like the barriers to entry within that space was low, which I guess is what crypto is all about. So it was definitely a pleasure to be there. And we both, had some really, really interesting conversations, and both from the policy side of people to people who have created like different projects within crypto and been really successful out of them. So it was just, it was great to kind of
super exciting. That's my takeaway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's great, because people, lots of people hear about events like this. And what I think is really a shame is some people keep the information extremely close to the vest. And that's not what this show's about. We want to give you full access. So we're going to be attending events all over the globe. We're going to be streaming from them. We're going to be covering those events. We'll be covering events that Kirk's going to. So when you tune in here, just know that we're not those guys that are going to be like, oh, we can't tell them that. That's secret G65 classified information. We got to keep it for ourselves. That is not what this show is about. This is about helping you, especially people with limited knowledge of the crypto industry. And I want to point this out. Kirk won't say this because he doesn't really talk about himself like this, but he's been around the crypto guy since 2013. Some of these people that are the titans of the industry were nobodies back then. That was back when you went to a Bitcoin conference and there might be 10 people in the audience. And you had people like David Schwartz and others there talking to almost nobody in the room. That is not where we're at right now. Regardless of what I would consider the turmoil in the market, because I also think that we've got to look at the community, and I really think it's unreasonable, the expectations that have been put on this administration. And we're seeing a lot in the media that they're like, well, my gosh, eggs are still expensive, inflation's still high, look at what happened to the crypto market after the crypto event, you believe this? He's ruining everything. They're expecting that Donald Trump can snap his fingers, with the what's that glove from the Avengers movie? Snap the fingers and change everything in one instant.
I was just saying magic wand, Lance. Make it easy, magic wand.
Yeah, and that's the point. It's not a magic wand. This is a major cruise ship. This is the first time we've really talked about getting crypto into the mainstream. But Kirk knew these guys, many of them, which I'm always shocked when he starts talking about somebody that he was talking to in 2014 that was just starting out and had come up with a concept and had no money behind him. And these are some big players. So it's great to have somebody that was in early in the game. Of course, George and I came in the game later, and of course, Antonio came in later. The point is, this is big stuff. One of the big takeaways that I think people are underestimating is the final, death of Choke Point, Operation Choke Point 2.0, which really, not only did it impact even a company like Solem Global, everybody was having a problem. You couldn't use your credit card to buy crypto. You couldn't use your debit card. You couldn't do a wire from your bank. If you did, they would close you down. Kirk, I want you to talk about that, because if anybody, you took a couple of hits like that early on.
Yeah, no, I've got 2 letters that I've saved, right? The Solem Global Inc., US-based corp, US currency-backed stablecoin. Bank of America was our first client when we got out there. I'm not a first client or first bank. We were their client. Had an account for like 6 months, and one day I woke up and I can't remember what I was going to run the card on, but I ran the card. Nope, you can't run the card. I was like, what the hell? I know we got, it was early on. We had like 50 grand or something in the account. I was like, I know I can buy a cup of coffee, right? So then I went.
We would hope.
Yeah, you would, right? So then I called in and they said, oh, your account's closed. And they just shut us down. So you know what we did? We moved to Wells Fargo because I had a couple of accounts with Wells Fargo. And about 3 months after that, I was moving to talk at an event in Miami. And as I walked in there, I got a phone call from Wells Fargo, and they're like, "Hi, it's Wells Fargo. You're out." Ding, done. So choke point has choked us out a couple of times.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating, right? And I hope what we're seeing with the Trump administration and with the new governance of all this stuff, that he's going to put a squash on that. In fact, there's a guy in Miami that's doing a suit. I can't remember all the names, but there's someone over there doing a suit for something like this. And I would be open to being involved in a suit because the Biden administration sent out a letter, told all the banks, shut them down. And that's not good.
Yeah, I mean, these kind of operations that ran behind the scenes did so much damage. It wasn't just Gary Gensler. It was things like this. I talked to somebody the other day that had a very sad tale that they had tried to buy some crypto, gone onto a wallet, were trying to use their debit card. The bank refused it. And that's back when Bitcoin was $100 a coin.
Yeah.
And they were going to buy it $3,000, $4,000.
Absolutely.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So, and they gave up because they thought, well, the banks aren't approving it. I don't know. Maybe I should just blow it off. Now they kicked themselves, of course, $100 to even $78,000 today. That's a big jump when you're buying $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 worth. So pretty sad about it. But I want to straighten something out. One of the things that's been going on in social media, well, and this happens all the time. I'm really irritated by it when these agendas come out and they lie to people. There's been the Bitcoin maxis are out there telling everybody that the strategic reserve is only Bitcoin. That first strategic move that Donald Trump made was not about just making the reserve Bitcoin. And he's made it very clear. What it was is there's a bunch of different agencies and there's no organization that are sitting on seized crypto assets. The reason he got this out quickly is because the FBI had approval, as did the DOJ, to sell a large block of Bitcoin by the Biden administration. And he wanted to make sure it was unequivocal that he was going to stop that dead in his tracks, that all assets that were related to crypto have to be offered to the strategic reserve first. And he wanted some kind of a format. Of course, some of the biggest seizures were Bitcoin. That's why he moved rapidly. So the maxis out there saying it was only this, because I want to read you a statement. Then you guys can comment on this. They talked about they're not going to sell any of the deposited Bitcoin. And what I grabbed the fact sheet off the White House website. So if anybody's got a question about what I'm saying right now, you can fact check me to death. Head over to the White House site, look it up. You'll find out what I'm telling you. But it's very clear in here about what they're going to do. And they basically say that they are absolutely, this is just the beginning. And there are going to be other coins in the strategic reserve, although they don't name them. Although we do know that previously XRP, Cardano, ADA, and Solana were named, as was Ethereum. But he just wanted to stop because there was some Bitcoin that was sold by the U.S. government for millions of dollars. And had that Bitcoin been held on to, it's now $17 billion.
Yeah.
So a major hit. How do you feel about the online presence? And I'll start with you, Kirk, and then maybe George, I want you to comment. You see these maxis and they keep trying to put out misinformation as if Bitcoin is going to be the only thing. And it's the only coin anybody should be interested in. Kirk, thoughts on that?
Well, you're putting me on the spot because the Bitcoin maxis have a hell of a lobby, right? So I don't want to say anything negative about Bitcoin other than there are other coins, right? And right now, Bitcoin's the titan. You can pull up the graph and look at the, total crypto market cap and then look at what Bitcoin is of that. And as of today, it's the big daddy. But yeah, I mean, there's going to be multiple other coins. I think there's going to be, as we've said, and as we've banked our life on at Solem, the stablecoin industry is going to be huge. There'll be multiple other coins out there. And, I hope the administration picks the right little basket. I want all my maxi friends to win. I've got some really close ones. But, this is a big deal. And if you look down the road 10 years, all money in essence is going to be reflected on chain. Right? Is that going to be Bitcoin? Is it going to be Solem? Is it going to be, Ripple? What's it going to be? That's still up in the air. But the fact that we're moving in that direction, I think, is pretty solid.
Yeah, and I think, this current disjointed handling of cryptocurrencies that are seized through forfeiture, he had to come up with some kind of a, clarifying message because, it seems to be the policy right now, George, you can respond to this about in DC that they go, oh, well, I didn't know. I didn't know I wasn't supposed to do that, or I can't do that, or I shouldn't do that. You didn't tell me. So it seems like he made the right move here.
He did. The Bitcoin maxis, it's not nothing bad about Bitcoin. It's the people. Not everybody, though. There's a group of them. and they're just loyal to Bitcoin. It is what it is, but it's not only going to be Bitcoin. So, get over it. If you look at Bitcoin from the summit, it dipped a lot. It was Monday, hitting like the high 70s.
Yep.
But so it is what it is. But all that Bitcoin, if you look at, was seized because it was used for nefarious reasons on the dark web, black market, whatever. That's why it was seized. So you Bitcoin maxis, look at it that actually could hurt the value of Bitcoin too, or just hurt the name of Bitcoin. That's why there's people that just stay away for those reasons. So let's see what happens in the future, but it is what it is. Bitcoin maxis, I don't hate you.
Because I prefer when they clarify the message, coming out of DC on this, because I really want people to realize the opportunity, because not a lot of people, Bitcoin's prohibitively expensive. I hope there's going to be additional opportunities. That's why I like the digital asset reserve that goes beyond their strategic reserve and the plan they have to have, a diversified portfolio. What do you think, and Tony, I just wonder, that roundtable was packed with federal executives. The crypto czar David Sachs was there, Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. You feel like the message, you were on the ground there. So do you feel like the message they presented at the crypto summit, do you think they conveyed the message clearly? Or do you think maybe they left a few things that they should have really gotten on top of?
I mean, I think it was pretty clear there's still, more to go. So it set an initial groundwork, everything you're saying about the strategic Bitcoin reserve. And then we've got like digital assets that will come in time. I actually just want to circle back to some comments surrounding that at all, because some people who are very prominent in this industry, like Solana's co-founder, there were some comments by Joe Lonsdale, different people were actually promoting it just being a holding of Bitcoin, if that's what it took, and not really picking and choosing these few other coins. So I think there's still some comments and things left to be discussed amongst the industry following, how we watch the next steps. Because the Bitcoin reserve, we know is happening. The digital assets reserve, we will see develop over time. And again, it's like, the stable coin, everything to do with that, all of the documentation and policy needs to come out. And then it will be a big question about management. And that will, of course, have ramifications. So as we've said, the administration can only do so much. I think being in the industry, it's been a really positive thing. Crypto price movements, as George mentioned, Bitcoin drop, but that's because there are these wider macro impacts that affect all assets, including crypto. So I think we've got to say it was a good job. There's more that we need to learn, which will develop over time. But we also can't put too much on this administration to as you say, wave the magic wand.
They're not going to be able to do that.
Well, no, they can't. So they can only do what they can do. I think it was
a
good effort.
It's a good start. It's a really good start. So.
I would say this. I think that the big letdown, if there is one, and reflected in market cap or any particular price of a coin, is because an erroneous belief that some magical thing was going to come out of the conference, like Trump was going to come out and say, as of now, America is only crypto, and it was just it was not realistic.
You mean get rid of the Federal Reserve and just go crypto?
George, are you trying to get our podcast shut down?
Exactly.
Come on, be careful.
God forbid you say the Federal Reserve. That's
we love the Federal Reserve.
I love the Federal Reserve.
They're great. Wink, wink.
Can I say that? It's just that I just want to say that. It's just, a lot of people felt like, there was no big, crescendo of what was going on. Mm-hmm. But what we did have was everybody that was anybody getting in the room together, talking about what's going on, and that is a beautiful big step in the right direction.
Yeah, you can't ignore the significance of everyone showing up, trying to work together on this. And the bipartisan support.
I want you guys to expand on that, because you guys have an insider's perspective. Of course, George and I were not there. We had lots to do and we're unable to go. So here's the deal. Well, I want to ask you guys both. Let's start with Antonia, ladies first. What were the most surprising or maybe unexpected discussions that you feel like took place at that event you attended at the summit? Maybe some insider information. And I don't mean insider information because, of course, I'm sure the SEC would come out of the woodwork. I'm talking about things that people told you projects.
Above board insider, just some, some
but
thoughts.
people talking about projects that are coming forward and what they see the future, maybe some perspectives that you guys said, wow, that's really an amazing observation you just made. You go first, Antonio, because I saw you talking to a lot of interesting people. We saw the videos and the photos, and of course, I'd like to know more about that. I
was going to say I get around, but I meant, I do like events to try and just connect with people who I can learn from. I think that's the best. And we were lucky that people were open to that. I think it was the theme which we said off the bat when we started this show about how everyone seemed, there was a sense of am I pronouncing that right? Camaraderie?
Yes, correct.
And you also see that across the bipartisan support, which for me was at least surprising. If we see like the different policies in the Biden administration, now moving forwards, we have the new Fit 21 Act, and I think that serves as a bit of a microcosm for the wider vibes which were going on. That there is this support of people wanting to work together and move forward.
Absolutely.
So that was probably a key one for me. You've obviously got like different views about like the volatility in the market, all of that, but I think that was to be expected. As was some people not really liking the government's involvement at all. I still think that's expected. So yeah, I think that was one for me.
I got a question I want to ask both of them real quick. Yeah. If you hear anybody talking about like any kind of like regulation or something about to curb like pump and dump on meme coins, you hear anything about like that?
Not so much pump and dump, and not so much regulation, but there was a lot of chatter about that, right? And how disruptive that is to the industry, and it's speculative, just like back in the days of oil contracts in the Oklahoma or Texas and whatnot. So there's the people at this summit are smart, right? They were very smart, and they realized that's. Can I say bullshit anymore, Lance? I can't remember.
No, but you can definitely say that.
I can. Okay, so that's just bullshit. But I don't think you can regulate that out of the system. No. That's the challenge, right? People are just going to have to buck up and get smart. I know consumer beware is not really a fashionable phrase anymore, but in crypto, you got to have your shit together or you're going to get taken. And that's the nature of the pump and dump. And so, let's start thinking about this as you said, Lance, and as we talk about it, if you're thinking of things that have generational wealth attached to them, that's not going to happen overnight, right? You got to slow down. You got to do your research. You got to find out who the project is, what's the coin doing, who's running it, are these credible people, are they smart people, and all that stuff. So, I don't think, I'm just not that I have myself a magic wand, but I didn't hear anything that made me think that the government was going to try to curtail the opportunity for pump and dump, right? And I don't think I felt like that was going to come out of it. More like there was a steely resolve that America just has got to just get smart.
It seems to be
maybe not so much regulation. That was a bad word. How about maybe like consequences or
Well, I think here's the problem. You're at the infancy of I want to jump in here. You're at the infancy of an industry for a lot of reasons, right? We're talking about early stage. And there's always been that. Penny stocks were part of that in the stock market. Lots of people made money and lots of people didn't make money. I think you have to look at it from the perspective of it's hard to really decide which projects deserve to be labeled in one way or another. Because again, we're talking about early. Now all of a sudden meme coins are adding this AI meme coin contingent, which is kind of a layer up from what they call the meme coins. Sometimes people refer to them as shit coins. But when you look at projects like Fart Coin, or you look at Godius Maximus, right? Legitimate coin, and it did very well. But for the people that got in early, they made a lot of money, and they really, and some of these young kids, I've described it to you guys just for the audience. You've got these kids online that are living in a studio apartment in Miami, as an example. They've got a mattress sitting on the floor. They've got a $10,000 trading system with bunches of monitors, and they're running Deck Screener and all these other programs. They've got a $400,000 or $500,000 car in the driveway, and they've got a wallet with $7 to $15 million in it already. And they're 21, 22 years old, and they're basically sitting and trading around the clock. They're living on Red Bulls, or they're living on energy drinks. Maybe that's a Red Bull plug. Red Bull, if you want to sponsor the show, you can jump in. my point is, right? But we see this and we think, wow, that's crazy. And they're holding up their wallet and showing what they've got online in real-time videos. You know, I don't think that's going away. That part of the industry is going to continue. Will there be something for intentional deceit? I would think down the road there would be, but it's hard to, it's hard to really differentiate that. Was there intentional receipt in penny stocks? Of course, everybody wishes they bought NVIDIA at the beginning, or Google at the beginning, or Facebook at the beginning. You know, we all want to find that next Bitcoin. But that's what I love about what we're doing with this show, because the key element here is education. You know, it's education to give you the tools so you can make some competent decisions. Because there's some great products out there that we're going to talk about, and there's some great companies out there. But you know, it's a wild, wild west. You're going to need some blue chip, and maybe you do want to take a shot on a coin called Fartcoin. I'm not telling you not to, or maybe you want to get involved in SNEC or one of the other projects that are out there, or Pepu. Right? Pepe Unchained, or even the original Pepe coin, or Floki. There's so many different coins out there. I'm not telling you not to get involved with those, but it's still diversification. You have to look at your portfolio from the perspective of, are these items that are going to go long-term with the blockchain, or is it possible for me to make a crazy upside? Because when the coins come out and they're literally thousands of a cent, and if it goes to a penny, you can do the math yourself. It's a tremendous upside. So we're going to cover a lot of stuff on this show, and I think it's great the way you guys put it.
What were you going to say, Antonia?
No, I was just, to be honest, going to say the point about diversification, and also bringing up that a lot of these people who can really master the craft of the shitcoin, let's say, it sounds funny, but that is like a highly analytical, like I know a few very, very smart people who analyze the social sentiment, really, really dive deep, and can make a killing purely focusing on that as a niche. But as we say, it wasn't really, well, as you guys said, and I agree with it, it wasn't really a focus on it. We didn't see anything to do with clamping down on that side of the market. But like in any industry, you know, it covers a range of areas. And what's really nice is if there's one side of it, which is benchmarked, which is taken seriously, then the others will always kind of be there and play around. But I don't think you need to just focus necessarily on one thing or the other, but it shows the wider lens of crypto now, that it's not just those volatile quick wins, but we've got this institutional adoption, we've got this regulated space as well.
I would add to that, you know, Lance, back to your comment of the one of the pillars of the concept of the show, right? It's, look, if you've got $1,000 and you want to roll the dice on a meme coin because you hope it's going to go up by 5,000%, nobody on this show is going to tell you not to do that, right? All we're going to try to do is say, hey, why are you doing that? Have you thought about that? Are you jacked up on a Red Bull and you want to just roll the dice? Then good, at least be honest with yourself. You know what I mean? I saved up $500 or $1,000. I'm going to roll the dice. I'm going to the casino. But what we want to do is just give you a moment to stop and be sober-minded and say, hey, your $500 could go down the drain. And I think it's well said. So
if you want to put it on green zero on the roulette wheel, sometimes you got to take a chance. Sometimes you're feeling the vibe. It might work. At the end of the day, this show is all about educating you. So hopefully you can figure out what data points matter, whether it's social influence or maybe just the press that a company is receiving and who's behind the project. Don't go anywhere. The Crypto Power Hour will be right back. When we come back, of course, we're going to be talking about the Bitcoin plunge. 4-month low. Economic fears are overshadowing the Trump's pro-crypto push. Be right back with Antonio Moss, Kirk St. John's, George Valentine, and myself, Lance Maniacho. Stay tuned. You don't want to go anywhere. We got some great stuff to cover in the second half.
As an American who keeps up with the real news, you know by now the severity of the economic issues that are plaguing our great nation. My name is Jonathan Rose, and I'm the CEO of Genesis Gold Group, the only major faith-driven company in the industry. 2024 is a year full of uncertainties, with trillions of dollars in national debt, inflation impacting your savings, and a pivotal election year. Your peace of mind is more valuable than ever. Now is the time to use physical gold and silver to preserve your hard-earned retirement savings with a gold IRA. Call Genesis Gold Group today. Our team has decades of experience helping folks just like you take their first step on the path to true financial freedom with a gold and silver IRA.
Call Genesis Gold Group today at 1-800-200-GOLD for a no-commitment, informative consultation with one of our experts to find out if we can be a fit for you. Call now at 1-800-200-4653 or visit genesisgoldgroup.com.
In a world of uncertainty, be prepared with Silver Prepper Bars, your ultimate hedge against political instability and economic turmoil. Introducing the Silver Prepper Bar, crafted from .999 pure silver and proudly made in the USA. This tangible, divisible asset can come in handy even in the toughest of times. Portable, perforated, and easily tradable, the Silver Prepper Bar is your lifeline in times of crisis. When facing inflation, currency devaluation, and financial meltdown, Silver Prepper Bars provide peace of mind. Don't wait for disaster to strike. Secure your future today with the exclusive Silver Prepper Bar, the only silver bar on the market divisible into 3 different size pieces for maximum utility, all while fitting in your wallet. The smart choice for savvy investors and preppers alike. With Silver Prepper Bars, you're ready for whatever tomorrow brings. Hi folks, I'm here today to introduce you to the Prepper Bar from PrepperBar.com, the most unique precious metals product we have seen in a long time. These 62-gram bars are perforated and easily broken down into your choice of 3 different sizes to fit a multitude of needs. Whether it be from asset protection from inflation, economic turmoil, or its unique utility for barter and trade, the Prepper Bar makes a perfect gift for all the precious metal lovers out there. Exclusively made here in the USA and selling out fast. Available in both gold and silver, these slim Prepper Bars fit neatly in your wallet, and their utility enables use in any situation. As gold and silver prices continue to surge and top economists predict upcoming shortages, now is the time to secure your precious metals in the form of Prepper Bars. Go to PrepperBar.com now and place your order before supply runs out and prices go up. All payment methods accepted. Order your Silver Prepper Bars now at PrepperBar.com. Silver Prepper Bars, ready for whatever tomorrow brings. Order now.
Welcome back to Crypto Power Hour, powered by Solom Global, with your host, crypto's most interesting man, Kurt St. John's, and Crypto Queen, Antonio Moss, and the Crypto Bros, Lance Migliaccio, and yours truly, George Ballantine. We are back, we are live, and we're giving you the highlights of the Crypto Summit from DC. But you know, since that weekend, I don't know, Bitcoin took a little dive here. It was at low Mondays, what, 78,000 on Monday? Like over the since his statement, it started creeping down. And by the way, we had a little thing between the 4 of us last week. I was right. I said 86,000 on Friday.
I was right.
You weren't right. You said 91.
No, I did say 91.
Yes,
it's
you
on,
did.
The viewers can watch the show. I said 87.
No.
No?
I may or may not have been a bit high.
You were between, he was 91. I think you were 90.
I was not at 91.
Lance was like 70 something, I believe.
78 to 79,000.
So I want you to know on the
I was
next show, I'm going to
frighteningly
bring
accurate,
a handheld device in which I can display what I said on the previous show. But let's not get caught up in semantics.
Let's not.
Yeah, we wouldn't allow you to do that because we don't want you to prove
What I
yourself
want you
right.
to tell us, Kirk, is about this Bitcoin dive. Like, what do you think?
Dialect?
Dive.
The Bitcoin
Oh,
dive.
the Bitcoin dive?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, what can I tell you? You know, the thing about Bitcoin, crypto in general, you know, if we brought up the chart and looked at it over time, it goes up and down. It goes up and down, right? So if you've got, you know, everybody worried about, you know, some governmental talk that's going to make it go to 1 million and it doesn't do that, then a lot of people get shaky. They start to sell it. It goes down a little bit, right? We could talk about market manipulation. It could go down a little bit, but it's down a little bit, right? It's not down a little bit forever. It's just down a little bit now. And as you said, Monday, you know, it hit a nice little down. And, you know, I think we be patient. We see it come back up.
I think as well, you've got to see that it's not just what happened on Friday is meant to boost market sentiment totally. Like at the end of the day, crypto is an asset, right? It's a risk on asset. And we see a lot of macroeconomic uncertainty, like Trump's tariffs, like we're unsure what the Fed's doing with interest rates, all these other factors that come into play, and they all come together to affect the price of different cryptos. So
maybe move your phone away from the mic a little bit. I think it's crackling. It's right on your lap and the mic.
Oh,
Just as a little tidbit for the show. We're working it
my
out.
apologies.
Don't worry about it. I'll edit that less.
Well, but
what you
here's
just
the
said.
thing, right? We saw that there's economic uncertainty, but I think
Yeah.
there's something that goes deeper than this. I think it's the kind of the industry itself and the people that are involved in the industry currently. I often feel like the people that are involved in cryptocurrencies are more emotional than maybe more seasoned investors in the stock market. I often feel like they react to things that I don't normally expect the market to react to, that I see a downturn that seems to catch me off guard. Like I would think coming off the crypto event that we would have seen, if somebody asked me, what do you think is going to happen? I said, I think everything's going to go up because it kind of takes away the uncertainty. The fact that the SEC has made some big news just now today, I felt like they were going to put some regulation and they were going to stop, just like they did the choke point. They've killed that. And I thought that would be looked at optimistically, but I think we're looking at a youthful investor base, and emotionally, and you stop me if you think I'm wrong, George, I think emotionally sometimes they react in odd ways, and all of a sudden you'll get a sell-off, which I believe that volatility is an opportunity, but I think for a lot of people it's frightening.
I'm going to add something to this whole conversation. So it's not only just because of crypto. It's actually a lot of that's impacting the crypto market, and it's impacting the stock market is the tariff wars right now. It's causing, concern for people. A lot of people, they like a sure thing. They like, steady ease. When there's like, you put a wrench into the engine where it could cause harm, or you don't know what might happen. This is what's going on. This is why the market right now is fluctuating with the stock market and crypto.
Yeah.
Everything will bounce back. It's going to take time.
I'm gonna give you some pushback on that. The crypto market, in my opinion, is so detached from the regular markets that things like tariffs and Canada and Trudeau pissing on Trump or otherwise, I don't think that's what it is that affects it. You see all these guys on podcasts and on different shows and on CNBC and whatever, and they're talking about market trends and blah 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 blah. Crypto's been around, let's just say 2009, right? So to 19. So we're talking like 16 years, and it's really only been around for 7 or 8. And the market, in my opinion, the market is not mature enough that you can talk about traditional trends and traditional TRED5 factors. Basically, George, you're saying TRED5 factors are affecting the price of Bitcoin. And I say, I don't think that's true. I don't think that's what's happening. I think there's a completely separate and unique ecosystem related to cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin being the king, that are independent of the regular economy. I could be wrong. I'm happy to be wrong, but
we
I'm pretty confident.
We can agree to disagree. That's fine. I still love you.
Sure.
I respect your opinion, but this is why we have the show. We all give
Everybody's
our opinions.
got to have a show.
It
right?
is.
I
but
do think a lot. Sorry, George.
No,
didn't
go
cut
ahead.
you off.
I want to hear the crypto queen.
Thanks. Love it. I think, look, a lot of people can probably reverse engineer explanations to things a bit too much. Like, okay, the price dipped, it's because of this tariff here or this movement or whatever it might be. But ultimately, you've got to have inflows from somewhere if the price is moving, or outflows. And there is, well, this is just my opinion, right? That's why we're all individuals. But yeah, I guess I'm somewhere in between the both of you, but it's interesting to hear.
I think that sometimes people, my opinion would be they underestimate, since the crypto market's open 24/7, 365.
Yeah.
That's something that I really see. And when you look at trend, and I agree with you, Kirk, I think there's a lot of data points that fall outside the norm of investing. But I still think people move into safe haven assets when they see a lot of volatility, because everybody wants to jump out of XRP at $2.80 or $3, and they want to buy back in if it goes to $1.50, $1.99, whatever the projected number is. So everybody's trying to catch that window, right? And sniping, it's a very emotional. If you're not using AI to do it, it's a very emotional process that you have to go, oh my God, I think it's at the top. Oh my God, it's at the low. Now, does that take in all the data sets, like you mentioned, social influence? The social markets move things so rapidly when it comes to news and markets. It's a big impact. So I often think that when you look at this, you have to think about the sentiment of what people are thinking behind the scenes. And I think social media really opens that window up, because, you the overreaction of what, like you said, Kirk, everybody was hoping they'd get the magic bullet at the, all of a sudden Trump was going to come out and say, oh, SWIFT's out, crypto's in, and we're done. And when they didn't get that, I think they overreacted, because I don't think the fundamentals of the potential upside for this market would cause this kind of a sell-off if people were really looking at it from that term, Kirk.
Well, what we're doing, some of this stuff in the background, is we're looking at the wallets, right? So the beauty of all things blockchain is, whether it's Bitcoin or ETH or XRP, Ripple, whatever, all of it can be aggregated in a aggregation indice, whether that's like Etherscan or CoinMarketCap, whatever. You can see how much coin's out there and what wallets it's all in. And then you can, if you think of that in terms of an Excel document, you could have all the wallets in the whole world in an Excel document, and then how much Bitcoin is each one of those wallet holds. And then you can track what wallets are moving Bitcoin. And so as we develop as a show and we start bringing in indices and some really interesting thought processes, I'd love to have a screenshot where I could say, hey, who sold all that Bitcoin that caused it to go down, and who bought it? And we won't be able to tell you who it is personally, but we'll be able to say it was Wallet 102 sold it, and Wallet 1027 bought it, and we can start making some reasonable considerations as to who is doing what.
That would be fun.
Antonio.
No, I'd like that. I think as well, like each crypto has different market things at play. So, like you said, it's really interesting, which I, to be honest, don't know enough about, but really want to learn more about the sentiment analysis, what's going on social media, how that might affect different cryptos versus others, the meme coins, the shit coins, the whatever, and how each reacts differently. I mean, I'm thinking of it from my foreign exchange lens, right? Like a G10 currency doesn't move like an emerging market currency. There's different things at play. So I think maybe over
100%.
time, it'd be fun to look into that.
Well, there's a bombshell I want to talk about. And George, I don't know if you caught this. The SEC just dropped news. Acting chairman said that the crypto rule reversal, and I think this could be the break the XRP and the market have been waiting for. This is a stunning reversal. The U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, this is the new chair, Mark Ueda. I don't know if I have that pronounced correctly, but hopefully I do. He's directed the agency staff to reconsider that controversial proposed rule, that regulation ATS, that could have extended SEC oversight to crypto exchanges and decentralized finance. So he's talking about completely stopping that dead in their tracks. And that is the main pivot point that Gary Gensler was using over and over and over again to attack these companies. George, give me some thoughts on this.
Hopefully they finalize and get it through. I mean, listen, the last thing we need is more government regulation. And this is part of the reason why we have the blockchain technology. It's for the people, by the people, and we're the ones that are keeping an eye on it and making it run successfully. You bring the government in, I can just foresee problems in the future. Anything where they want regulation is where they can try to tax it, make money. It's keep them away.
But here's a reversal. To me, what's important about this is this signals the beginning of the end, maybe, for the SEC's war on crypto. Kirk, what's your take? Is this might be exactly XRP's been waiting for this, and it looks like maybe they got what they wanted for Christmas.
Subtly, it's a consideration of a reversal, right? So it hasn't actually happened yet. I'd love to see it happen. And, it's back to what you said up early on the show with a choke point, right? The previous administration and the heads of the different agencies were against crypto. And I mean, you just got to say it, right? That's the way it was. So now we're looking at least a review of a reversal. So I'm going to sit back and watch to see whether it actually goes through. If it does, it's going to be positive for everybody in the industry. And particularly, I would love to see XRP and RLUSD get a boost from that, because ultimately that trickles down to help Solum.
Well, I'm gonna put it to you a little harder. If ifs and buts were candy and nuts, we'd have a Merry Christmas. Let's assume for a minute this policy gets pulled back. What do you think the impact's going to be on the market if, in fact, this regulatory reform does get passed, because I'm going to put my money. I'm going to go out. I'm going to get my crystal ball, the Miliacho crystal ball.
You
I'm
mean
going to
your
go
head?
in here as Kreskin, and I'm going to say it's going to happen. My sources say it's going to happen. So tell me, where does this go? I feel like I need to do that skit from Johnny
Okay.
Carson.
No
Who
problem.
was that guy when he had the little the big genie hat on?
Yeah. Well, first, I think the main thing, talking about sentiment, it's going to send a signal to the larger crypto holder audience that things are getting better. And for people that are on the sideline, whether that's a hedge fund somewhere or grandma out in Georgia thinking about getting involved, it's going to say, hey, the government's not against us anymore. And that's going to be a sea change. But then in practical terms, it's going to give people, freedom of regulation to move, to grow, to expand. And I think that's going to drive, further adoption, which is going to drive higher market cap for all the coins.
Can I say that Kirk St. John's went bullish on us just now, maybe? And does this indicate maybe a spark in a crypto rally, Antonio?
I mean, let's say, yeah. Which I was just going to say, the people on the side, right? If your crystal ball answer is correct, which let's be bullish, and it is.
Take it to Vegas. Take it to Vegas. I'm telling you, it's going to happen.
I mean, look, I don't think you're wrong, which is a double negative. I don't really know, but look, I think what Kirk said, the different people on the sidelines, like the hedge fund, someone on the sideline, this is big for these big players who have got a lot of capital to move. So this is big for them, which means big inflows. So, I think it will have a significant impact.
You know what? I'm going to throw a little tidbit onto the end of that. So you guys know Solon Global is a company. We're growing. We're out in the marketplace. We're talking with people on Wall Street and all of the different things there. In the last couple of weeks, we've gotten 12 invites from investment banks that want us to come to Wall Street and talk to them. And exactly what you're saying, Lance, these kind of shackles coming off of the industry are going to open the floodgates to capital coming into the industry. And there's a lot of capital that would come into the industry, not just necessarily to say, hey, I'm going to buy a Bitcoin, or I'm going to buy an ETH, or I'm going to buy a this or that. I'm talking about capital to help companies like Solum develop the background technology and corporate infrastructure and legal process that allows us to function. And as Trump said, he's going to make America the crypto capital, the Bitcoin capital of the world. Well, that's going to have to be legislated at some point. George, I agree with you. I love DeFi, love decentralization. I wish it was the people of the money. But until we get there, we need a governmental agency mandate that says, hey, Kirk, get up and go.
And my thought is, if you're at the cryptos crap table with Miliacho, don't bet against Miliacho when he's on a roll. I'm telling you, this is going to happen. George, are you betting with Miliacho? Or I'm talking about myself in the third person, which in itself is a little creepy. But George, are you going with Miliacho on this? Are you bullish?
Oh,
Ooh, that hurt.
I am.
I'm with you.
I was going to say, I think you're right. It's just that
I got to think. Let me see. I don't know, Lance. Something's telling me inside. I don't know. I can't acknowledge that right now. I'm sorry.
You know what? You're I don't like your mojo. Get away from the table. You're gonna make the dice go cold.
I'm a trendsetter, bro. I don't go with the status quo. I'm a trendsetter, bro. I do me.
Yeah,
Lance, you're a political
guy. Don't bet
guy.
against Miliacho when he's on a roll. I'm telling you.
How many days are we into the Trump administration? Jan 20, right? Till now, it's like, what is that? Feb 20, March. We're not even 60 days into the administration, and things like this are already out there. So I didn't mean to say that I don't believe it's going to happen. I want to start off by saying, well, it hasn't happened, and I'm from Missouri, so you got to show me, right? But at some point, I do believe it's going to happen, and I think that's part and parcel with a very well orchestrated step-by-step process that this administration had in their pocket before they ever took power. And now that they're in power, they're going to demonstrate power, and this is the way they're going to do it. Regulation and compliance. They're going to pull back all the bullshit. They're going to put a road out in front of us for people like us to go out and build a new economy. So forgive me for getting a little crazy, but
I just think the administration is going to want to send a clear message, and part of that message is taking away everything that was in the pipe that was doing damage to the crypto industry. So if you're with Miliaccio and you're on that pass line, let's go, baby. Gotta go. I say it's going to happen, and it's going to happen in the short term because I think that's the message they want to give. But I'll tell you something that's important that they're going to have to get out of the way are some of these issues like what just happened in North Korea. For everybody out there, unless you've been living under a rock, you know about the $1.5 billion hack by the Lazarus Group. And you know that they're already talking about the laundered 300 million that's already gotten cleaned up out of the 1.5 that nobody's getting back. And they're saying now, even with all these crypto sleuths out there chasing wallets, that Park Hyuk, who's on the FBI's most wanted list, they may not recover any of the $1.5 billion. I'm worried about the impact on that because this is the biggest cryptocurrency heist in history. What's this do to the public? What do you think, George?
Well, it puts a lot of doubt in the public because, I mean, we've been talking about this with you. I don't know how these guys hacked cold storage wallets. I mean, but the only thing I could say is however they got in, however they figured it out, is if they actually got into your wallet or somehow these wallet companies somehow stored your stuff online with them too. I don't know, but put your wallet in a Faraday bag. This way, there's no transmissions that can affect it. It stops anything. So
somehow they did some. I understand the coding of what happened here. They changed some coding on a wallet, and Bybit thought it was transferring this Ethereum into one of their internal wallets. Now, how they did it was 401,000 Ethereum tokens. So they mistakenly transferred these funds, thinking they were moving them into a secure storage. Kirk, what do you think the impact is, emotionally on the public when they see a hack like this? And how does that bode for the cryptocurrency world?
Well, I think probably the most educated statement I could make is it sucks. Right? It's not good for the feeling. It's not good for the sentiment of the industry. And your viewers, our viewers, can go back and look back. Mt. Fox. There's been a lot of black guys in crypto. FTX. We talked about that. Terra Luna. All of these different things that have happened. But I would say, as an analogy, right? I read a paper one time when I was in school about the car industry. And we had the Model T and it was putting along at 12 miles an hour. And then it got faster and faster. And it finally got to the point where at 42 miles an hour, if a bird hit your windshield, the glass exploded. And there was this picture of this lady and her kid had glass all in their face. That led to safety glass, right? This is why you can take a rock in the window of your car and it just puts a little pebble in it. Mm-hmm. The industry is going to have to grow and evolve. Part of our show, right? The whole paradigm of what we're doing is we're laying all the cards on the table. And we're talking about not only the good parts, but the bad parts. And there are some heavy duty things going on. And we're moving money into the blockchain universe, right? Whereas right now it's in, Web 2. So that same guy, Park Hyuk, could have, if he wanted to take all his power and hack Bank of America, maybe he could have done that. Maybe he could have hacked, Barclays in London. So there's some tough things that are going on and that will continue to go on. But I think a mantra I would want to promote here on the show and for our audience is you got to take your punches and move on, right? And it seems like, and for, again, just being around it for a long time, every time you feel like, crypto's really getting ready to break through, some shit like this happens and the public goes, oh, I don't know if I can trust it. But what I would say to you, to our audience, what I say to myself, just keep pushing forward. This is the way it's going to be. And guys like him, we're just going to have to snuff him out in time.
I think as well, like just to kind of add to a very strong final point there, I think.
I have it.
It's like I would hear stories like this, right, before I kind of got involved in crypto, because they are the ones that have the shock factor and really stand out in the news, etc. But as you say, over time it will bring regulation and everyone.
We'll all be healed.
Yeah.
I hear
there's no
music,
doubt.
Lance.
At the end of the day, I think it's important that this is an evolving market. You got to have some patience. It's not going to happen overnight. And if you learn one other thing on the show, don't bet against Miliaccio when he goes on here and puts his reputation on the line. That legislation's coming. Hey, if you like the Crypto Power Hour, don't forget the thumbs up, comment, share, like. Tell your friends and family members, subscribe. If you can do the paid subscription, great. But we know it's a tough economy. Do whatever you can. Get the word out there. Share it with everybody on Facebook, Instagram. Take the short form and the long form. Use it to promote your social media. We're never going to come after you. We want you to educate the country. You'll be here every Wednesday at 3 p.m. and every Friday at 3 p.m. for the Crypto Power Hour. We've got a great guest next week. We'll announce it over on the Crypto Power Hour social media. If you're not following Crypto Power Hour social media, you're making a mistake. You should be. You should also follow Solum Global. Antonia Moss. And what's the number on yours, Antonia? Give it to me again. One of these days I'll memorize it.
On X?
Yeah, what are you on
42.
X?
Antonia Moss 42.
Yeah, you got C. Kirk 2023. You got G. Ballantine, The Big Mig Show, and of course, Lance Miliaccio. Get over there, join those groups. There's going to be lots of going on, lots of communication. It's a chance for generational wealth. It's a chance to change your life. Be here every Wednesday and Friday. George Ballantine, last words, my brother from another mother.
It's always a pleasure. Another show down in the books. We'll see you guys Friday.
Yeah.
God bless. Have a day. Good day.